Thank you, committee. Kia karakia tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta. Ki mā taratara ki tai. E he ake ana, te atakura, he tiu, he huka, he hauhu, tihei mauri ora. Kia ora koutou katoa, everyone. Thank you for coming to Planning, Environment and Parks Committee today. We have not very many people in the room, but we know we have a lot online, so we definitely have a quorum, so which is good. I'll go through the apologies first. We have absence from Councillor Darby on council business. We have lateness from Councillor Baker, who's on his way from a council-related event. We have early departure from Councillor Fully and Councillor Leone. I think that was all. Are there any other apologies? Deputy Mayor may need to go early, but we could be efficient and finish before you need to do that. Right, I'll have a mover for that, Deputy Chair, and Councillor Henderson for second. All those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? No. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations? No, thank you. Confirmation of the minutes. Deputy Mayor, would you like to move? And Councillor Ferry second. All those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? No, perfect. There are no petitions. Now we move to public input. First up we have Boopsie. I can see you're here. She's coming to speak about third place, parks, civic squares, planning and other partnerships. And I'm sorry I don't remember the name of the person.
Sorry, this is Paula. She was part of the community-led design group, so I thought if she could support me for today, that would be good.
Absolutely. Kia ora, Paula. Nice to see you as well.
I'll be quiet. Cool.
If you'd like to speak, just pull the microphone towards you and press the button on the right. But thank you. So, as you know, Boopsie, we're well experienced in this. You've got 5 minutes, including some questions, and just go through your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko Boopsie toku ingoa, I tupu mai ho ki Los Angeles, enari tamaki makoto toku turanga waiwai inaine. Hello, my name is Boopsie, and I've lived in Auckland, Tamaki Makaurau for over 15 years, but I'm originally from Los Angeles, and next to me is Paula, who has been in the community-led design group for Ponsonby Park since March of 2016. So some of you who are 3 councilors past will know that we have been working on this project for that long. So we are here to share a strategy that provides a return in investment and value for money. The investment is pilots for people and place by removing barriers, simplifying the process, and democratizing the calendar. Across Auckland, we are celebrating and creating local public open spaces. Now, the term third place was coined by sociologist Ray Oldenburg. It's places outside of where you live or work that foster new connections and facilitate social interaction. We have an Auckland plan for our third places already for implementation. And if you were here 3 terms ago, this is actually a slide from our 2017 presentation for public open space. And this is the sample of activations we were hoping for once the place was built. So this is from California, and they had Kidchella, a kids rock series, art, and this is regular programs, community-led, and in open space, and as you can see, yoga. So there's our plan that we've had for over 10 years. That's an Auckland plan that is free data for you to use because it is our strategy. So if you need to know why this is important, we have our own plan. Some of you might know the history, but we're going to pass that. And so to show why it's important for the whole motu across Auckland is that Point Chev invested $10,000 in a placemaking plan, and what we're left with today is this. So when you don't invest in the people, there's a problem. So you have the placemaking plan we created, and there's a link for it that Auckland has, and this is where we are at today for our library in Agronia. And then so when you do invest in community-led design groups, we have partnerships that we create. And so, but a 20-year-old public space and an 8-year-old community-led design project is your pilot in place for better partnerships in the future. So let's move forward. Ponsonby's need to reimagine, diversify, and trial new ideas is not unique to the Waitemata. We just have an already existing pilot in place, and we have been collecting ideas. So if you see in the link, I went to a Place Leaders event in Australia, and their policy is under 1,000 people, you don't need a permit. And if you use this link that's here, the quiz takes under a minute, and then you have the confidence that you are doing an event that is permitted, and it even has the laws for you to do it. And an example of why I'm here at governing body and not at our local board is another events policy is that we can't use power. But in the community-led design, we put plugs for the schools to have free concerts. But legally, they are breaking the law if we plug their amp and microphones into plugs we provided for them to have events. So we really, as a city, need to look at how we are designing our spaces and then not permitting processes that we create for people, which makes them lose trust and then not activate our spaces for free. Another example is because we've done this community-led design process, we have all these schools involved and they want to do free concerts in the park. St. Mary's has already offered to do an orchestra concert and a band concert, but they have no access to a calendar and we still have no plan. And the park might be finished in 6 months with an empty space and no plan for the people. And then another idea we had, I'm just checking, another idea we had was community gardens. And another example is in New Zealand, Palmerston North City Council has moving from a memorandum of understanding to licenses, and they're happy to give you their template because we don't really have templates that are Auckland-wide that are shared freely. Whereas usually if I need something, I don't go to Auckland Council, I go to actually other councils that are quicker, and I get an email in 2 minutes, and they give me all their templates, and they give me all their policies, and they're easier to access. So we have an issue as a community-led design group accessing our own tools in Auckland. So I feel like as a council, we can kind of democratize that. I don't know how much more time I have, so.
Still got a minute?
A minute. So yeah, so in conclusion, I think we need to understand that we as a council unanimously approved the site of Ponsonby Space, but we did not unanimously approve a plan for how we go forward. So if we have this pilot of community-led design, and for 8 years we took in all this input, we went door to door, Paul and I took a map and cut it out. We have all this leverage and we're just gonna let it die once the space is built because there's nothing from the building on. And I hope that it can pilot new ideas for the Point Chef Community Hub, maybe even the new square in the North Shore. Other people manage that, but why can't locals have a simple process to access their public space and know they're not breaking the law? Because people often say, why don't you just do it? I say, I don't like to break the law. I'm scared, so I'd rather not have an event. So as you can see, if you go back to that link, since we have time, we could try to open it, but we don't have to. But you can see that it, how easy it is to have an event for under 1,000 in other cities that are larger than ours. So tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora. Thank you both. Just as a heads up, Deputy Mayor, I went out the other day to some parks in the city centre and with staff and discussed some of these things. So we are, my kind of feedback is we need to get out of the way and make it easier for this kind of thing to happen. If one good example on the shore, or Pakitai, I'm sure you know, the Beach Haven Garden was designed by community, took a long time to get that approved, but then now there's a community group that basically do everything but mowing the grass. So staff will still come, contractors still come and mow, but they have events they can put on, they do all the gardening and weeding and everything, but it did take a long process to get, signing the dotted line to make sure health and safety and stuff. And I know that staff will be listening to this and we are working on ways to make it easier. Maybe some people thought this is more of a local board presentation, but I know what you're always trying to get at, Boopsie, is making regional policy that makes things work for everyone. So I know there's a group of councillors working on our open space policy too, and that should be coming back in the next few months. And the more we can flesh into that to make things easier for exactly what you're saying. So just so you know that
Awesome.
we are, that's on our radar, but it should be faster. And I know you've asked before this.
Yeah, before it's built. I wanted to say that I do have a copy of that license agreement and I have permission from Palmerston North City Council to share it to someone because they originally got the Christchurch City one and didn't like it for their purposes or it didn't fit them. So the more we share what other community garden policies are, the better.
Yeah. So yeah, there is success around Auckland, but it doesn't seem to be something that just can be picked up easily. So I think that's what you're asking for. Sorry, questions, Councillor Walker.
Just got a question. There's a really neat organisation in Auckland, been running for some time, Gardens for Health. who've got templates. They're in touch with all of the community gardens in Auckland. Are you familiar with them? Because they've got a whole lot of good stuff, and that's my go-to place for community gardens.
I think it's similar to, like, let's say Kaipatiki project. That's one ward, Kaipatiki, that has local government funding and is maybe more focused on the North Shore. It's not necessarily about another agency managing our little 3 beds of community garden. It's if a neighbor looks across at this park and wants to have a little event, what are the policies around it? It's because they shouldn't have to need another community group. There should be a simple, like this, 3 ticks and you're in, because it's in their neighborhood, because it's just another handler. It's another power you have to go through to just literally walk across your road and have a little garden or something. It could be simpler. It doesn't need that layer, but I'm sure they do great things where they are. But
They're Auckland wide.
yeah, but it's still another handler. So we're trying to make a policy with less handling.
Sure, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Theory.
Thanks. And Gardens for Health was initially set up as a diabetes project. So it's from the Diabetes Trust, which, yeah, it's really good to see them seeing that more holistic approach, which I'm sure you'd be keen on. My question, though, was around the number of 1,000 for Brisbane, acknowledging that they often have really large parklands. So, for example, South Bank, you could have an event with 1,000 people there without it necessarily having much impact on the surrounding environment. Roma Street, Parkland, stuff like that. So I was really interested in the number of 1,000 because it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we currently have a policy that allows for 150 without a permit. So, yeah, what was your sort of thinking about, do we need to think about perhaps, saying parks under a certain size, the limit might be 200 or something. The 150 was mostly set actually because of school picnics. So when we brought in a permit for people needing a permit to do that kind of stuff in a park, a lot of schools went, hang on a second, we have like end of year class picnics and stuff at our local park, and we'd have to get a permit, and we don't want to have to get a permit. And so the policy was changed to 150. That's my recollection of the conversation anyway. I wasn't part of it, but
Well, I bet you that's probably why, because Cornwall Park had a cross-country. When I went to Teachers College, and we did that, and we walked there. And that was over 1,000. Once you have the whole school, or over 400. And I remember that came up in the past when parks were doing sports days, what the permit looked like. And again, it's on the calendar every year. Why are we revisiting these issues? It's literally a set events calendar that could just be cut and pasted, but we're making people make an event permit every year for an annual event. So it's kind of a bizarre process that we haven't adapted. And the power thing, if you look, but I think every councillor should do the Brisbane permit quiz, which takes 60 seconds, and then do our permit application, and then see all the barriers of our permit application if you're a person trying to have a small public event. It's so many things that put you off, and you're already breaking the law by one. They're like, oh, you've ticked that, quick, you need to call and email 7 other people, and they'll tell you why you can't do it. So just to have an event for 80 people took me probably 500 emails, and that's not okay. That's really hard and difficult, and I'm doing it for free for people. So it's like, remove, like you said, we can make a better process that enables better outcomes.
And although you're doing it for free, all the process on the other side is costing everyone. So,
cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Boopsie. Look, I know this is probably back to you, because that was my question around numbers first. But the second, so really just to you, John, I know that we don't have a resolution from Public Forum, but this is obviously something that we need to do some work on and just prove, this is sort of Auckland Transport's traffic management in a different way, isn't it? Problem, and if we're going to be leaders in the space, we probably need to prove that we're doing it ourselves before we, have a go at somebody that doesn't do it. So can you give me confidence that we'll have a look at this and look at those processes and policies to actually make change? As I said, I know it's not part of a resolution for Public Forum, but I would just like that confidence that we get onto this quite quickly. Richard and I had a great time last Friday, and I think it was just another example of what we need to be enablers rather than try and fight the system. The system should be there to support what people are doing. So I'm really keen to see that.
There could be like an automatic thing. Let's say Herd Park in Parnell, it doesn't have a toilet, so it can't get certain things. So if you fill out a permit and you're throwing a free event, that can be an automatic response. Here's your toilet, it's free. Here's your power, it's free, not you don't have power, you don't have toilets, you can't have your event. So I think if it's the response, it's the automatic response for the no, rather than here's your toilets, we've provided them for you, we have a small budget for these kind of events to give you that.
So, yes, I mean, Chair has mentioned the open space policy review that's underway, so that's potentially a vehicle for looking at these issues, but separate to that, I'll take that back, talk to our events colleagues, and yeah, we are very interested in what you said, and I've got the Brisbane quiz up here now, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And I've got two more questions now. Councillor Watson.
Thanks, Bob. So, we've spent quite a bit of time recently, a lot of hand-wringing over civic participation or the lack thereof. And what I've certainly noticed in my own areas when it comes to events which, bring people together, there's probably a lot less happening now than there was in previous decades. So just a slightly different tact on it. What do you think the benefits of this kind of, more open, accessible type of access to just putting things on that bring people together? I mean, I don't know if there's any research or anything, but what does that do for that kind of like civic identity and community kind of ethos and all those sort of intangibles that come as a consequence of people coming together on a reasonably regular basis, or certainly a lot easier than just this sort of occasional big thing that happens once every couple of years or every year if you're lucky, as is the case in some parts of Auckland.
Yeah, and I think it's hard, you don't want to say priceless for a budget that's totally strapped, right? So we have no money, but we have trust, which is priceless. And so when we do this activation here at Ponsonby Park, and those students created the brief, the students are measuring up how large their posters should be, and they created art. And they then got a funded workshop. So they now know how council works. They know timelines, they know restrictions, they know that in 4 weeks they have to share with another school. So that's now a trust you've created. So when you have a pilot like Ponsonby Park, which has 8 years behind it, and the parents have been coming and said, that boy on the left, the mom said, my son voted on design when he was 5 years old. So we have 8 years of that leverage to create a program and a new pilot in the space of events planning based on the design of the park. And then they all trust the city now because the building is down, the liquor store is gone. And so when you deliver, why would you lose that relationship? And so it's similar to what you're dealing with in your public spaces in the North Shore, is that once you have all that capital, do you not deliver, you deliver. So I think I just don't want to lose the momentum we have of 8 years of all the families and all the locals and all the kids that were 5 are now designing. That boy wanted to have a concert there next year, so let him plug in his amp. He designed the plug that's going into that square, but the law says he can't plug in. He'll be breaking the law if he plugs into the plug he designed. So that's an example of, so they were almost going to come to present, so they're all invested in the process now because they've been a part of it for so long. These kids have been doing it for 2 years just to get to this point. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And just a quick follow-up, Mr. Chair. Certainly when Auckland Council ran its kind of civic program in schools a little while back, it was often the kids of about that age group who were actually the most aware, most eager, and actually then there was a beneficial effect to their parents and their family actually, because they were then. So that's a big benefit I see that could perhaps go region.
Yeah, and that's a small investment, the art project.
Thank you, Councillor. Member Henry.
Kia ora, Popsy. Thank you. My question is sort of been answered, and it was where to from here. And my worry is that on one hand, we sort of know what the next step should be, and my worry is that what will happen as the next step is that we'll think about it, and we'll continue to think about it until I'm 84, which is not too far away. And so I suppose my question is, can we not come up with a better resolution than accepting what we've heard this morning? The resolution I'm after is let's sit down and plan out together how we get success, not let's sit down and put it off for another day.
Yeah, on public forum we can't, because it's not an item for debate, we can't add resolutions to it, but we can make sure that we're all engaged. I can keep us updated. I'm happy, Boopsy, if you want to sit down with a few of us and staff in the next couple of weeks, just to make sure that this could, I think it can be incorporated into the open space policy, which is coming anyway, as a, changes, directions, funding, blah, blah, blah. But I think also as this can happen and does happen anyway. I've got good examples. So
Yes.
I think the issue is that how can we change the operational policy, which technically isn't us, but it's us directing.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
you're saying that by law, you can't do what?
Well, standing orders don't allow us to add resolutions to a public forum because they're not a item with advice for debate. So we
So,
can't.
but could I not move a resolution, a motion to actually put it on the agenda for another, the next meeting?
We can only ask for staff to report back, but yeah.
What about an extraordinary item?
Yeah.
Well, we can't move a public forum to an extraordinary item, but we can just add a clause to the, could we add a clause to the item which just says staff to report back on this presentation?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. And if you're asking where to now, I have one slide in there that says, enter a formal Auckland Council supported collaboration, which is what I just watched in real time, which almost made me cry. Because as a public input person, this is the separation I have. And then extend existing models in place, which you know of, and then trial the small scale programming. So when you create the open space budget, if there's an existing community-led group attached to that space, you allocate them a $50,000 or $10,000 budget that they return on, and you tell them what success their KPIs are, which I had to learn what KPIs were coming to these meetings. I had to Google it. I'm just gonna tell you the truth now. In 2017, you asked me my KPIs for the Ponsonby Park, and I was like, oh my God. So help them with that. Help people. So now I learned a lot about that part, and it's important to teach community groups that. And then we monitor it. We collect qualitative and quantitative data. So if it works, participatory budget for this location, we copy and paste and do it again. And share all the data, share the success, and don't do the mistakes again, hopefully. Thank you.
That's cool. Thank you very much. And we will move to that resolution that Member Henare can move it. I'm sure he'd like. And seconded Deputy Mayor. Yeah, so essentially it'll be referred to Chief of Strategy, which is the ELT member for this committee, sorry, my words. But the rest of the organisation will also work on it, and will ensure, I'd like to figure out a way we can invite you in to discuss it with the team as well in the next, not the next couple of weeks, but sometime quite soon. Because I think that it may not be a huge issue, it might just be tweaking, I believe. Because I've seen it happen, we must be able to do it under current policies, just making it easier. Whether we need budget to do the Brisbane quiz, then that might be different, but yeah. But thank you. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Leone. No, right. No, Councillor Leone, sorry, I didn't see your name up there. No, it's fine.
Oh, look, I was just really going to acknowledge you, Boopsy, and say ngā mihi to you. It's a breath of fresh air for you always when you come in here and bring your whakaaro and the mahi that you're doing out in the community. And I think it pretty much has been covered anyway, and support Member Tauhenare's comments about how we can get things moving forward. But really, I just want to ask around with Brisbane, and we're talking about the difference between 150 people and 1,000. So did they pilot first to get to that 1,000 mark, and were the main issues around health and safety when they kind of moved to that 1,000 mark?
The good news is I know a lot of people that work in that council now, so I will find out for you. I'll go back to the council. I'm also going overseas for a few months to study community gardens and public open spaces. So I will come back and come with samples, hopefully, from overseas, but I'll find out that specific question because I'm curious too. Kia ora.
Ka pai, thank you.
Brisbane's actually a sister city of ours, so we should be extending and reinforcing relationships much more.
Thank you, Councillor. And Boopsie, last comment. Have you caught up with Jacqueline Collins? She's
For play.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for this instance, it's policy,
broader.
it's land use.
Yeah,
I need to learn land use policy real quick because it's zoning and land use, and I know all about play. I have kids, I'm a school teacher, but the biggest barrier for public open space is land use policy, and I do not have a planning degree. I have a teaching degree, so,
Well, that might be John's.
yeah.
Thank you.